In Dan and His Van episode 15, I'm going to talk about in-ear monitoring and the many advantages that it has and the disadvantages as well, because there are some. So I had a set, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago. I had a headphones and then a belt pack with a 9-volt battery that used to last the gig just. They're much better now. Battery life is much better. You can wander around stage. I did a couple of gigs a few weekends ago where I had an in-ear monitoring pack provided and it had the same batteries for both nights and it was still said full. Now, what happened before that is that we had lots of stage monitors, lots of wedge-shaped speakers that would be pointing up at the performers. And that was fine, but you always had to get the PA engineer to do your mixing for you. And sort of, could I have more vocal in my monitor? And they just go find the channel on the desk and tweak it up a bit. So, you know, it's you obviously had to entrust the sound to somebody else. With in-ear monitoring, with the digital desks that we get, you have an app which goes on your iPad and you connect to its Wi-Fi router, and there you can sort of find all your levels and you can tweak your this, that and the other. The only trouble with it all is, much as, I mean, it's fantastic, it's great technology and really a boon for lots of people. But the more adjustments that you have at your fingertips, the less likely it is that you're going to get the perfect sound that you want. Therefore, you'll keep tweaking it and you'll keep sort of touching and going, oh, I need more 800 hertz on the snare drum, for example, to give it a bit of beef, which you can do in your monitors. It won't even affect the front of house at all. So you spend your time finding your EQ and your booth, and you think, well, actually, I'm meant to be playing the song that I'm doing at the moment. So you really can be taken away from the job in hand by something else. Now, I've got a bit of a solution, and this is something that I use quite a lot of the time because it's a very easy thing to set up. I have a little mixing desk. It's a little Behringer 4 mic input desk. You know, it's £80 or something. You know, you can get a mixer for nothing. And it has 4 mic inputs, which is kind of what you really need for something like this. And it depends what I'm playing, because I play guitar, bass, keyboards and violin if I go out on a gig. I play one of those or maybe 2 of those at a gig. So I need enough channels to do my mix. I take a pair of C3000, AKG C3000 mics. They're sort of lower price condenser mics. They're pretty good. I mean, you get a lot for your money with those. I take a pair of those out on a stereo bar. So you've got 2 mics sat on a bar, on a mic stand, and then you have the 2 channels plugged into your mixing desk, panned hard left and right. So I have a stereo monitoring mix, which is just a pair of mics, so I can hear what's going on stage. By and large, that's enough. Of course, you've got guitarists right over the other side. You know, you might not hear that, but you can do other things as well. And then on the other input channels of the mixing desk, I will put my bass or I'll put a mic in front of my guitar amp. It doesn't matter if there's a mic there for the PA anyway. You can have 2 mics in front of your guitar amp, it's fine. One goes to the PA, one goes to your mix. And then you've got a monitor mix through your mixing desk. And you plug your headphones into the headphone out and make a long lead. I've done a video about extending headphone leads. You can see that on my channel. And it means that then you've got enough cable that you can essentially be free to wander about a bit, and everything's wired, so there's no battery technology to worry about. And you've also got faders. You can literally physically push something up or down, and you've got basic EQ control, because let's face it, that's pretty much all you need. If you're a vocalist, things can get quite tricky with that. Because if you put your fingers in your ears and then talk, all you can hear is all the bass end of your voice, because it's actually going through you. Sound is much more efficient at going through solids and liquids than it is through the air. So if you've got in-ear monitoring for vocals, you need the very, very best headphones that utterly cancel out as much noise as possible, and then you can get your vocals back. Now, mono mixes is something that I would never ever recommend, because if you're playing on a stage and you've got a big stage, you've got the audience there, if you've got a mono mix, you are instantly disconnected from the gig, because you've got this world of one ear kind of thinking, well, where's the guitarist is over there, but he's in the middle. So what I would do, if you do have in-ear monitoring, and it's via an app, is to pan everybody very slightly according to where they are on the stage. So if I'm playing the bass, I've got the rhythm guitarist next to me. I'm going to put the guitar slightly over to my left and the lead guitarist to the right. So when I look round, when I'm looking on stage, I'm kind of getting a vague representation of what I'm hearing. Now, of course, those stereo mics, or those two mics that I was talking about just now, are still really useful to you, because of course, usually at a gig, you're just miking up the drums and the guitars, and you have no idea what's going out the front. With the audience, you've disconnected yourself from the audience because you can't really hear them, in between tunes. So what you can do is set a pair of mics up on the stage, which will get the audience between the tunes. Beware of setting up a pair of mics remotely. Well, what I mean by that is, well, let's consider the speed of sound, which is 737 miles an hour, or 330 meters per second. That's a better measurement. If you have a 50 millisecond delay because your mics are 16.5 meters away, or 50 foot, i.e. the other side of a big room, you're going to hear that delay in your headphones, and that'll annoy you. So if you're going to put mics up, make sure that they are reasonably close to you, not next to the PA speakers, obviously, because all you do is be blasted out by that. So you've got to sort of work out where you're going to put them, that it's not going to pick up one member of the band more than the other. So you can do a mix that way. Sometimes I think if I need less drums, I'll just point the mics away from the drums a bit. It's kind of really old technology, but it means that you can use your in-ear monitors and you can have everything in stereo. Keyboards, if you're a keyboard player, if you're a piano player, you should always monitor in stereo, because that's how piano works. You've got your bass slightly over to the left and treble slightly over to the right. Having the decent earpieces is really necessary. But above all, I mean, you've got to look after your hearing. So in-ear monitoring can be something that gives you a very false impression of thinking, well, I've actually got less level on stage, when in fact you could even have more, because you're turning up thinking, oh, that sounds great, and you think, well, you're probably listening louder than you would listen on an iPod. So you've got to be really, really careful with them, because in-ear monitoring headphones are also much higher power than, a pair of little mics, little headphones that you get with a mobile phone. You've got to be really careful with it. So the better your headphones are isolating sound from the outside, the lower you can have it. And that's really important, because also in stereo, the ear is more able to pick out frequencies, pick out instruments if they're in stereo. If you can hear the lead guitar over there, you can pick it up much more easily than if it's in the middle, sort of all bunched in with all the other instruments in mono. Mixing for mono is really, really difficult. There are so many pitfalls and so many sort of traps not to fall into. Everything's got to have its space, but in the middle, and that's really tricky. So in stereo, it can be quieter. That's really important. So all the best with your in-ear monitoring. It's there to serve you, really is, but just be aware of the pitfalls that may be contained within it.